Now lastly, there are two parts to integration, and project management integration is the first process group that you'll come across in the PMBOK guide. And so this is a great segue into that little section. But the two parts are working with the project sponsor. So the project sponsor usually kicks off a project through a business need or a business charter, and they also usually are the ones funding the project. You'll need to understand the strategic objectives from them, and then ensure that alignment of your project to meet those project objectives. And that's continuous communication that you'll need to go through with the project sponsor to make sure that you're always going to be on track to delivering that business value. And then of course underneath, we've got the project team and the team members and all the different bits and pieces, moving parts of a project that go into that business value up here. And we need to work with that team to focus on what's really essential, make sure that it's getting done, and we're integrating all of the processes, all of the knowledge, and all of the people involved to make it happen. When we're integrating something, whether it's the process of project management processes, or actually going through the different knowledge areas of a project through those teams that we were talking about before, there are 3 levels of integration that you'll come across, whether in everyday life or as a project manager as well. And that is the process. So that's the step-by-step process. And for our example, as a project manager, we're using the processes outlined in the project management body of knowledge, so the PMBOK guide, and knowing when they overlap and knowing when to use some or to discard some. There's obviously cognitive levels of integration, where we've got a deep understanding of all of the processes, the skills and the tools to drive a project's success. And lastly, context level of integration, where we're changing the way a process is used when given a different context, situation, or scenario. So now we've got processes up here, we understand them deeply here, and lastly, we know when to change them or when to modify them because we know them so deeply and so well. And that is the ultimate aim for you as a project manager and a person doing the PMP. There are different levels of complexity with integration. So you might have system behavior, the interdependencies of components and their systems. So different systems, how do they interact? How are they related? This can get quite complex. Human behavior is always complex. Someone's having a bad day, someone has a way that they always do things, and all these things are diverse, and individuals are can be very different, and even groups can have set ways of working that you need to be aware of when you're managing a project. And lastly, ambiguity, so uncertainty of emerging issues. So things can come out of left field, and they do, and you will come across this quite often. Something will happen, maybe it's a regulatory change, maybe it is a business change, maybe it's an organizational change, but something will happen and you will need to manage the ambiguity that arises out of that when you're going through your project.